So this really isn't my presentation, it's their presentation, so I wanted to give you some ideas of where this came from. The project itself, the concepts of the project, dates back about 3 years, and it was a late night Skype conversation I was having with Spritel. You all know Spritel from Package for Charity. And we came up with this idea of Network Scout. But we didn't really know what sort of hardware software we wanted to use, so we kind of looked at using a Shiva plug for a while, but that was expensive, so we gave up development of that. And then I became a college professor, which means I have slaves. So, I'm sorry guys, did I say that out loud?
It's okay, we know our
So, I taught them some Python, they learned some Python on their own, and they just basically took it and ran with it. So, you all probably know me from the internet. My name's Bill, otherwise known as Oncee.
Hi, my name's Sean Jordan. My handle's Fachin, and Marshall student. I own my own home inspection business, and did not know a lick of Python going into this.
Okay, go ahead. Hello, my name is Aaedan Somerville. I recently got the handle Rage and Asian. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm also a Marshall student. We're both digital forensics and information assurance majors, and yeah.
They're going to talk about funding here in a second, because they did receive funding based upon, from Marshall University and from Dow Chemical in order to build this thing. But I want to talk briefly about what we're trying to solve. So everyone puts all of their money and time and effort in those blinking light boxes to go at the edge of your network, right? There's not really anything in the inside of your network other than host-based intrusion, if you have it, that will look for nefarious traffic. So the basic idea we're trying to solve is to put something inside your network on each segment of your LAN that will look for attack traffic after you get popped through social engineering, or through someone plugging in a USB key or something along those lines. So when you talk about defense in depth, this is another step in the depth.
All right. Before we get started, we'd like to give a special shout out to everyone who gave us money to basically do this all summer and commit ourselves to Python and programming and network development. Like, we didn't have a clue about how to do it at the beginning, but we'd like to give a thanks to the College of Science and the Marshall University Foundation, the Dow Chemical Company, and and the state of West Virginia. Without money, we would not been able to do this, so thank you. All right, and that was Bill's. All right.
I'm sorry, I skipped a slide. There's slides?
All right, again, before we get to the hardware, we'd like to give a special shout out to Johnny Long and Sam Kinch and the rest of the Hackers for Charity team for inspiring us with their rugged Pi design. All right, the required tools. Let me get my notes here so that way I don't miss any. In order to build a scout machine, you will need a soldering iron, an electric drill, 5/8 and 1/4 drill bits, plexiglass sheet, and a tool to cut the plexiglass with. And a word to the wise, when you have a plexiglass, do not cut it with a Dremel. We found that this produces a toxic fume, and it was really bad for the church we were working in. All right.
It makes you high.
Okay. All right. The pieces, don't worry, we won't quiz you guys on this. We're going to have it up on our website. This is awesome. I have 2 mics. I don't have to, hold it up.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but remember, you don't want feedback.
Gotcha.
Don't cross the streams.
All right, you hold this then.
Give it a shot.
All right. Here's the parts list. You can find most of the parts online through Amazon. The shipping shouldn't cost you more than $1. Some advice here would be to order the pins first. They took about 2 weeks to come in for us. And other than that, you can find the standoff screws and breadboard at your local Radio Shack. And you can find the pass-throughs that we used on the back at a Lowe's or a Home Depot. All right, here's a finished product. We also have a few of them going around. All right, it's attached. Thank you, Sean. All right. You can see that we have the Raspberry Pi B or B+. They're interchangeable. They both work. It's flawless. It's awesome. You have the breadboard and the LCD screen, and they're attached to the plexiglass with standoff screws. And we have the shutdown button here inserted with the hole that you make with the drills. All right, moving on. All right. After buying all the pieces and putting them together, the most we spent on a Network Scout machine was an astounding $127.74. The second time we built a machine, it was about $30 cheaper, however, because we had parts left over from the first build in order to invest in the second. However, the third time we built one, it was about the same price. So we found that every other time we built a machine, it was about $30 cheaper. All right. The How-To Hardware Guide is coming soon. We're working on getting the How-To Wiki up on GitHub in October. We'll have the official Network Scout website up by the end of the year, or sooner if Bill stops signing his homework. Sorry. All right. The only thing we want you to do is connect the LCD, the breadboard, and the Raspberry Pi. Those instructions are provided by Adafruit and will be included in our GitHub at the end of the year. The software scripts will be set up automatically with a setup script, which we'll talk about later.
Alrighty, guys. Now we're on the software side, the goods. Yeah, there we go. So we want to give a special shout out to Dave Kennedy and the Trusted Sec team. Without artillery, we wouldn't have had our base, what to build this on, and it's just been awesome. Honestly, I had studied artillery so much that when we came to a point when we were like, oh man, we don't know enough Python to do this, I actually looked at artillery, and it was my base for building this. So
I'm sorry.
So if my Python's really bad, you can blame Dave.
Dave's Python's gotten better over the years.
And this is officially available today. You can go to GitHub, Network Scout/NS. And it's set up like this. We have some folders and some files. The folders, we have the stuff folder. If you have any issues with your server, it actually has the received info file. So if for some reason your database isn't populating, that's where you can find the server information. You also have some MySQL creation and uninstalling scripts, and the artillery log function that we had to add into artillery. The startup, we added init.d scripts to all our services. So that means you can do the stop, start, restart, and status, and you don't have to manually go in and use sudo Python and all that jazz. So made it really easy. The source has a core function and also the Adafruit library that we'll move over, and the website has all the website information. And then we have our NS setup, NS server, and NS client. We're going to go into detail about those. And then the LCD controller is what controls the screen, prints out the IP, and we also added a function to get the status of artillery if you're running the client, or the status of the server if you're running the server side.
Won't you explain why we decided to put an LED screen inside of the box? Is that in the slides I haven't seen yet?
It's in the slides, yeah.
I'll shut up.
Yeah. Professors.
Yeah. They're the most important people in the room.
Finally, we got a simple shutdown script. Just tells if the button's pressed, it'll shut down in your config file. So on your client, we use this to tell the config or the client where to send the logs to. And this is the server.
Okay, this is my pride and joy right here. I'd like to point out that Sean did about 80% of the Python on this project. He has been awesome and like a staple with this, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been able to do this.
I just put my name on it.
Yeah, he did. All right. I'm going to read.
That's what professors do.
All right, here's the Python script we wrote to connect the server and client scouts. It opens a TCP connection between them with the server able to listen for up to 4 clients at once. This is in order to avoid the issue with multiple logs being sent at once. The received data is written to the received info file in the stuff folder, where it is stored in order to be written to the MySQL database. We check to make sure that the data was written to the file, and then read in the log line by line to an open file object until it reaches an end of file marker. We split that open file object string into 4 separate strings using a comma delimiter. From there, we connect to the MySQL database, populate the variables, and inject the command string into the database. We run a try and catch method to commit the changes or roll back in case there is an error. If there isn't an error, we disconnect from the MySQL database and clear the received info file.
So that's how we ran the server on the Python script, and this is the client side. It's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. We set the server variable. We read in from that configuration file. Yet again, that comes from artillery. And then we check and make sure Network Scout's running. Check the log size because we didn't want it to like send spaces to the server. So that's checks to make sure it's greater than 10. Then it'll send it to the server. It will erase the log file once it's like ran through all the way, and it'll wait 60 seconds. So every 60 seconds, you're getting this log file from all your artillery boxes. So it's pretty up to date. And this is the server function. It's pretty straightforward. Just connects to the server, sends the file, closes the connection. And now we're off to the challenges of this whole thing. So like we said before, we got here and we were like, oh man, artillery has this remote logging function. That's awesome. You know, this will be easy.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So we're in July. This is supposed to be done by the end of August. And we're like, we don't know Python. So like I said, Dave Kennedy really helped.
Well, also Aaedan took Python from me as an independent study.
That is true.
So he did have a leg up. So it's not like I didn't do anything on this project.
Thank you, Code Academy.
All right, we can change your grades.
Oh, a little endorsement right here.
Stick in the microphone.
Okay.
I'm the smart one in this group. I don't have to take Bill again. I don't have him this semester. I don't have him next. So.
All right. We also had an issue with the IP and the shutdown methods. We didn't want you to have to SSH into your Scout clients in order to find the IP address or to shut it down. So to fix the IP issue, we added the LCD screen in order to personally display the IP address and whether the server or the client artillery was running. It depends on which one you pick at the beginning. And for the shutdown method, we made the shutdown button available so that way you could press it and it would automatically run the shutdown scripts.
We wanted to display the IP because we know how much your security team loves it when you scan your whole network. Or if you have a large network, how much fun it is to sit and wait 10 minutes for your scan to complete. So we're like, man, wouldn't it be just easy if we printed that out on a screen?
The other thing is that in the early parts of this project, we test it wirelessly. It works fine wirelessly as well, as long as you're able to obtain a DHCP address. So it's not just a wireless device. I mean, it's not just a wired device, it's also a wireless device.
So as we mentioned earlier, we had an issue with artillery actually logging what happens. And it really puzzled us for a long time on how to do this. And finally, I was like, I'm just going to modify artillery on the fly. So I was like, we went in and we wrote a function. And we actually inserted this at the end of the core calls for artillery. And we just insert this function. It grabs the IP of the Pi. It grabs the time, grabs the alert message that gets sent out in the emails too. So we just took that and
we
and
fixed
the status.
that. We fixed that because it doesn't work in artillery either.
So we took all this stuff and I wrote it to the end of the file. And this is what it kind of looks like. And then we go through all of the harden function and the honeypot function, and we just took that, And what this will do is it scans through and looks for a certain phrase, takes the line number, adds 1 to it, inserts our call, and then rewrites that file. So you have the whole file modified, and this is all done inside our setup script. So if you download Artillery and then run our setup script, it's working. So wanted to make it pretty easy.
Yeah, this is called code injection for good.
All right. A pi plus what equals server. For us, we found that LAMP achieved everything we wanted. Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. This server setup was the easiest and most beneficial to use with the Raspbian OS. All right. Set up here.
So like I said, we're getting close to finishing the project, and it was really complex, and we had issues with the LCD. We gave one to Bill early on, and we couldn't get the LCD to work. So we looked at it, and we were like, could we make this easier? Plus, by the time you're like debugging this, and you've reflashed your SD card about 20 times, and you're having to do this by hand, you're just tired of it. So we were like, let's write a setup script. And we're going to, special thanks to JustBore, he gave us a LAMP install script for Pi. So we actually just called that. We didn't have to set up the server. It runs through, does its thing, and we got a server out of it. So, oh, sorry. And this is the setup file. So we have a simple menu. You get to pick if you want to install the server, the client, uninstall Scout, or just exit the program. And this is kind of the pride and joy right here. So this will install Artillery, moves everything in the right place. There's that modify Artillery. So we go down, and then at the bottom there, we make the directory for the log. So if you have any issues with your Artillery box, you can actually go to artillery/log/log text, and it will show you all the messages that haven't been sent to your server yet. And then this is the second half. This is the init scripts. So this will actually go through, automatically install the init scripts. So you can do the sudo service ns server start or restart or stop or status. So at any time you can do that call, and it will show you the information you need to know. And then as I was setting up these init scripts, I don't know if anyone's ever done init.d scripts, but I would start it and would say, hey, it's okay, it's running. And then I'd do status and be like, no, it failed. And I was like, what in the world am I? And I would look at Dave Kennedy's code, and I was like, it looks exact. I was like, man, I can't pull out what I did wrong. Spent like a day. Finally, I was like, permissions. So that's what that is. We had to go through and give the system permission to actually run the files. And then I went and cried for a little bit. And it was all good, though. And then we finally moved the Adafruit library over to your Python libraries, and you can restart the Pi. And then the server is really similar. Sorry, it's kind of small, but it installs LAMP. By the way, if you do the server install, it takes like 20 minutes. So go get a coffee, go steal some credit card information. I mean,
go to the Lockpick Village.
Yeah, Lockpick Village.
Oh yeah.
Takes a while, but once it's done, all you have to do is use your MySQL default password. So it's pretty straightforward. Init script, the only difference is you have NS server instead of NS client.
I got you.
Yeah. It's too early for that. And then it moves the website in. It installs the MySQL DB for Python, and then installs the MySQL databases. So all this stuff is automated for you. So once you run the setup script, outside of setting your default password, that's it. And then this will all work, and the clients you do have to set where the server is. But outside of those two things, you don't have to program, you don't have to do anything. I mean, we made this bill-proof.
Yeah. Did you say you made this bill-proof?
Go with the next one. He's got to get up for this one.
Uh-oh.
Really, the issue was that we were working on code, and I'm like, this code doesn't work. And they're like, You're high. Of course it works. So I finally was like, you have to bundle this up in an installer because I'm tired of fighting with it. So that's how the installer happened.
I got really.
Exactly, it's built proof.
We can do that for you.
Yes.
We can post up an image of both the server and the.
Yeah, but yeah, it's easily an image.
I feel like you do
And
things
then-
the hard way.
Yeah. And then you got the restart, and this is the.
You want the next one?
Oh no, that's the uninstall script. So this will actually detect whether you have the client or the server, and then run the appropriate uninstall. So pretty straightforward. And this is what it looks like when you actually set it up in your bash. So you just download it off GitHub, network scout/ns.
That's all you have to type in right there. Boom.
And then you run it, and the only, I guess, bug with this or a little nitpicky thing is you have to run it from the home directory. So you actually run the ns setup outside the folder, because when I set up the links, that's just my immature Python experience right there. So, but you call it from outside, from your home directory. You get this easy pop-up menu, pick what you want, runs through, and you're done. So not much to it. And like we said, this is how you change the address. You just change that config file. Next slide.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, no. Go back. There we go.
There you go.
And you just change that IP address, and that's all you have to do. And we made a little video on how all this works. So,
You have to push it again.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
So here you can see we're going to do a port scan on our client. Lots of open ports. Yay, honeypots.
All right, on the right, you have the website that I beautifully made, and it's separated into attack number, the IP address of the client, the date time of the attack, the alert status, and the message of what you need to do to fix the issue. And right now, it's loading. Bam. And yeah, go ahead, John.
So artillery goes through, picked up all these port scans, said, hey, you got a bunch of this. I'm sure Target and Home Depot would have loved this. Hey, Target, Home Depot, if you're listening, we'll build you some. And, yeah.
Here's the other thing. If you see that many alerts on the inside of your network, unless you're a really, really big network and you have a lot of false positives, you've got issues. This thing is really good about seeing traffic. I've run it in production testing now for about 6 months. It works well. When you have an issue, it will point it out. One of the issues we see is that we see false positives with things like domain controllers because of the nature of the traffic they send trying to find other Windows computers. But generally, it's pretty good about not sending false positives. No, false negatives. That's a whole different point. Never mind.
So finally, we have the future here. It's up on GitHub, so we'd like to see it go out, open source, modify it however you want. We have some ideas of like the next step we want to take with it, and got to update some website security stuff and some things like that.
This is a work in progress. All this code is theirs. I didn't do any of it. I helped them with it. If you find something that you'd like to contribute or fix, please feel free. Well, it's on GitHub now. We'll have a website that goes with the project up as soon as I quit giving homework. We do have the domain. The domain is network-scout.net. Is that right? Hell, I don't know. And had not had enough monsters today. So there is a future for this. We have some ideas. If you have some ideas, please share it with us. This is a community. This was built as an open source project. Share with the community, and hopefully you'll find it useful. This is a whole, hack yourself an IDS, IPS behind the firewall project for relatively cheap. We don't want to get into the business of selling these things or building them, but we want to give you the opportunity and the tools to build them for yourself. If you need help, let us know. Does anyone have any questions? What?
Did you say you tested this in your test environment or your production environment?
No, it's been tested. It's actually in a production environment. It was tested in a test environment and then was put into production. It's running right now.
Justin on it.
Actually, it's in Justin's environment. Now we've tested it in wireless and we tested it in a wireless test environment, and then we put it in a couple of different production environments where it's running now.
Is WPG coming out of the terminal network?
No.
They're behind the times.
WVU is very behind the times. Marshall all the way. What are you giving me? The peace sign or? Oh, you have a question? Okay. The staff are allowed to ask questions? Yes. What's the question?
Are you gonna give the code back to Dave to fix artillery?
No, because we don't like Dave. No. We did not push the changes back toward artillery because we wanted to talk to him before we pointed out some of the things that would fix it. He may have it broken for a reason. We don't know yet because we've never been able to have him stand still for more than 2 minutes to talk to him, but we will contribute back to artillery to fix it, yeah. Yes, Lynn. Yeah, we get some blinky lights on the outside, right? That's a.
We'll get more.
Well, I think we can get the cyber designation if we get some blinky lights on the outside. So, yeah. Federal funding, that would be good. Now, we need to build on a hot tub, actually, near my office, so any sort of fundraising.
Hey, Billy.
Yes, ma'am. No. They're being funny. I doubt because of the nature of the Target and the Home Depot breach that would have prevented it, but we are not, because this was funded through grants and because it's at a public university, it is an open source project. We really can't sell this because it belongs to the community. So, now the question is someone like Target or Home Depot smart enough to build their own based upon what we have, or are they going to go out and buy for 20 grand some blinky light box that nobody knows how to log into that's a next generation Target breach defender? Yeah, you're right. I'm lowballing it. That's probably just for the small, medium-sized businesses. So the idea is to give people the tools to do this on their own without spending a lot of money, which is the same thing I did when we wrote the book. I talk about the book plug coming up, ding, ding, ding. We read a book, me and Valerie Thomas, called Building an Information Security Awareness Program, which was the same sort of thing. Why should you have to buy something when you can build your own? And it doesn't take that much effort. If you have some questions about how to build your own, ping us. Make it better. Steal our ideas, please. Yes, sir. Gigs. Gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs. So it's been well tested. Yes, sir. We talked to him about it, but generally at this point, no. There was a further discussion, not with the entire Marshall community, but parts of the Marshall community. The School of Medicine has taken an interest in it, which has a separate network because they're trying to be HIPAA compliant and all that. But at this point, Marshall's network Because of the nature of a network in a university, which is kind of free and open anyway, I think it's hard to put some things on that sort of network. As long as no one's, breaking into the Pentagon or burning the buildings down, you just sort of have to let it ride. So I think that's the reason, really, is that it doesn't work in that paradigm. I use the word paradigm drink. Yes, Captain Sexy. How many have we deployed at once? 3. Well, our testing has been limited in scope at this point, but we haven't been able to break it. Our biggest question is, I don't think you can break the hardware. My biggest question is that we now need a community review to make sure that we plugged all the holes, quite frankly, because we're all noobs at this. I'm just a country systems administrator. It just happened to become a country professor. So now, these guys are the geniuses. I'm just riding their coattails. Yes, sir. It works. I don't know if it'll work with the code we have. That's one of the things we need to look at, is supporting more devices. So that if you have a bunch of old computers, you could do it with this. One of the reasons that we went with the Raspberry Pi was it's cheap, and it's small, and if you throw it inside the Pelican case, you can put it in the hostile environment of your wiring closet where it's going to get kicked, and dust and water and God knows what else on it. So that's the reason we went that way, but there shouldn't be any reason why you can't run it on other kinds of hardware. But I'm not sure. Sean, can I answer that question?
You'd probably be all right with like Debian or a build of Linux. We don't have Windows support yet. Dave Kennedy's Artillery does support Windows, so maybe we can work with the Trusted Sec team if they're interested and build out a Windows.
If that's something you're interested in, just let us know, and that's one of the ways we can expand the project, because we want to keep working on it as long as these guys are still undergraduates, which unfortunately isn't much longer.
Always give more homework.
And they all need jobs. So. These guys need jobs if you're hiring. Yes, sir.
Are you on a tap or?
I'm sorry? Neither. You basically just plug it into your network, and it looks like a device on that segment, either logical or physical, of your land, is the idea. So you plug one in different parts of your network. So it's neither on a tap nor on a span port. And it... Do I now? Yes, yeah. Yes, Artillery is running on the Artillery server. It's Inception. This is good as... Never mind, I'll go down that rat hole. Does anyone else have any questions? I know this is a short presentation. We didn't think it would be this short, so now we're going to wrap. Anyone else have any... Wrap. Come on, you got questions. We're not Radio Shack, but we might have answers. Okay. Remember, checkout time in this hotel is 11, so that's what I'm going to go do now. Thank you very much for coming.
Everybody.
Real fast, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone. This is our first talk, and it's really felt like family, so thanks to all you guys.